Hey folks, good evening and welcome to another money space with me, Kaluaja. Of course, on this space, we're talking money, the economy, and finance. We're here every Sunday, and we are always glad to have you guys join us to have this in-depth conversations that enable us to learn more about our money and how we can be better investors and managers of such. So, of course, guys, last week, the entire topic in the world of business has been tariffs. The tariffs by the U.S. I guess specifically say China and really everyone in the world. There's been a tariff out. Everyone in the world has a tariff. Nigeria has 14%. Most folks have 10%. But when you go to China now has about 125%. Vietnam has about 46%. Thailand has its own tariff. So every nation really has a tariff now. And the whole game is, according to the US, they want reciprocal tariffs, that they want to impose tariffs on nations that have a huge deficit with America, which means that nations that are exporting to America, but not allowing America to export to them, build up this positive trade balance with the US. The US administration does not like that, and is imposing tariffs to sort of equalize the field. So if you look across the board, you see lots of tariffs on the EU, Mexico, Canada, China, everyone. So last week we were going to talk about the economic, review, but the tariff news really upended all that, because you can't talk about the economy. There was such a huge shift from the economic performance from quarter one and what the tariffs have now done. The market crashed, the market recovered, the market crashed again, the market recovered. As of Saturday, the market was recovering on the news that the US had pulled back some of the reciprocal sanctions on electronics. So you have the electronics trade, say cell phones, computers and all that. The news came out that the US had pulled back some of those tariffs. Then we heard, no, it's not a pullback. It's actually just a pullback on the reciprocal tariffs. Now on the Sunday news in America, I see the Commerce Secretary, Mr. Lofnick, saying that it's temporary. There's going to be a new tariff coming on, which is going to be on semiconductors, so i.e. the electronic tariffs are going to happen again. This is just a pullback to align these tariffs with that upcoming tariff. So the markets are already reacting to that. Sort of uncertainty now. If it's Apple, which is the largest stock in America, is this still a good stock to buy? Because if it's temporary, that means if it does go forward, then of course we're not going to have cheap phones, and of course that's going to be inflationary in America. So the market is reacting. But I think the topic today is going to be more of what can we do about it as Africans, as Nigerians. How can we take advantage? And if you look at the global map, Africa has a huge advantage because we have something called the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which was passed by Bill Clinton. Essentially, it allows the African nations to export duty-free to the US. So if you manufacture textiles, for instance, and you're in Africa, you can export duty-free to the US. So nations like Ethiopia, Madagascar have taken huge advantage of this to export and to build up an industry just based around tariffs. I saw a number yesterday. I think Ethiopia went from 30 million in exports to the US to over 230 million in about 10 years, just exporting to the US based on AGOA. Ethiopia is now suspended from AGOA because of the war they're having, but the data point is still there. You look at nations like Madagascar, we don't even talk about them, right? But they're an island off the coast, and they're doing so much in exports to the US. And if you look at the tariffs that the US has placed on Madagascar, it's reflective of these tariffs, because you see Madagascar has a higher tariff than, say, Nigeria. Nigeria is, if you look at in terms of AGOA, we're the second best performing country in Africa under AGOA, but we're only exporting energy. So it doesn't make any sense. So when Dangote exports energy to the US, it's under AGOA, right? So it doesn't pay duty, which is big. That's why maybe they're buying from him. But we want to see more of non-oil exports. Exporting energy is really, we can do that in our sleep. We want to see more of non-oil exports from Nigeria to AGOA or to the United States. And that's essentially that's the opportunity there, So I tried to look for someone that could speak. I see him on here, but I'm going to ask him to accept the request to speak. Obina, if you want to accept that request to speak, I just want to talk to a guy that's really doing this. He's in this sector. And I mean, if you guys want to comment as well, once we do our short interview, feel free to hop in, request DMs and all that. But I want to get him to speak because he's a Nigerian that is he has a garment business. What I mean garment business, I mean the stuff you see in Asia where you have mass production of garments for export. He's doing local and international. He's going to tell us more about what he's doing. But I think he's the perfect person to bring in and talk about the tariffs because he's going to talk about the opportunities, also the constraints, and also what this tariffs mean for him. Is it an opportunity? Is it a threat? Does he see a way to replace the US? Can his firm take on some of the slack that China and Vietnam might lose with the tariffs? So without further ado, let me introduce Obina. Obina, you're already here. Obina, you want to unmute, give us a brief intro, tell us about your company, and then I have a few questions for you. Obina, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good evening.
Hey, Obina.
Everyone,
How you doing?
Obina is my name. Is a little bit. I think Kakao, just for some background.
Yeah, you want to fix the audio?
As to how we got to this point. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you. If you speak up and it's clear, that's fine. I can hear you. Just go ahead.
Okay. So, I'd like to give some background and as to how we got into the garment business and the challenges we faced, and also opportunities we've seen and are still seeing even as we grow. And we started with supplying specialized.
Obina, but can you? Yes, I can. But can you give us an intro of what's the name of the company? Maybe what year? Just so people can Google you in case they want to just follow. Yeah.
Okay. The company is Zirea Apparel, XIREA, Zirea Apparel. So, and the reason why I wanted to tell the stories to see how we came, how everything happened. It's probably going to take not more than 5 minutes. But the parent the parent company is Eric's Group. Eric's as in AERIX Group, and we started out as as a service company in oil and gas. Now we do not have an opportunity to supply safety equipment to oil companies, and which included specialized garments. And we're told specific companies to import from in Europe, and then I had no control because I had to buy from those companies, and because of that there were slips. We usually had slips in delivery. So, and our customers weren't happy. So on one of those occasions, I had to fly to Italy to see the supplier. And when I walked into their factory, I saw at least 400 to 500 people that were working on my order. And then I thought to myself, there are 400 to 500 people that I'm paying, and then when these things are imported into the country, it's just myself and probably the agent who imported this thing, or rather who cleared it for me, got the advantage, and everything goes abroad. and then I spoke to the CEO of the company in Italy, and asked him, why don't we put a factory in Nigeria? And then, of course, instead of being a supplier to just one company, we can actually cater to all the oil and gas the companies in Nigeria. I said, opening in Nigeria, there's no skill set, and business is good. Why do you want to do that? So I felt, okay, you know what, this guy wasn't ready. I approached another company in the UK, who I got a very good brand, a known brand, and it was the same thing. Nobody wanted to take a chance. So at that point, I decided that I was going to go it alone. So we started from scratch. I had to go and hire some expatriates from Vietnam, from some other places to come here and train our people. And we started from scratch. We built our brand, our local brand, and we took people off the streets, literally, trained them from scratch. And what was supposed to be a 6 to 12 month training period actually it ended in 6 weeks. And those expatriates, they were amazed at how quickly our people learned. And even I, who owned the company, I couldn't believe what the output was. So it was at that point I realized that, look, this isn't just going to be an oil and gas play. That we now have the capacity to even do fashion and any other kind of garments, school uniforms, military uniforms, and what have you. So, and from then till now, this was we started in 2019, and from then till now, we've trained from scratch about 600 people, mainly women.
That's impressive.
And lots of those people had never seen a sewing machine before. We taught them from scratch, and because what we wanted to do is to make them stitch our own way. So we taught them the color, and a lot of those people are feeding their families from that job. And this is just one factory. Then imagine what could happen if we had this spread across the country. And now going back to what the impact can be. Now with these US tariffs going on with Vietnam and Bangladesh and all those countries, it's a huge opportunities for us, because what that means is that automatically anything that we export in terms of government from Nigeria, it's going to be a lot cheaper for Americans than if they are going to do that from Vietnam or Bangladesh or from anywhere. So it's a huge opportunity. Even now, currently now, we're doing. We've started exports, but we're exporting to African countries more. But with what was going on, we are looking actively at AGOA, and currently just last week we started getting we started getting messages from some of the big brands.
Interesting.
Asking questions. And another thing that's interesting to note, that company in Italy that I asked, that we set up a factory in Nigeria and he bought. They've been sending me emails for the past 3 months asking me to produce for them.
What?
Because they were interested. Yes, they were interested in our market. And the only way that they could see it happen was if they worked with me. But it was an opportunity that I threw open to them, but they didn't want to take it then.
Interesting.
So what I'm trying to say is this: at the beginning it might appear as if doing things here it's impossible. Usually they will say, "Oh, there's no power how to do it." But see, what I realized is that the most difficult thing isn't even power; is personnel. If you can get the people and take out time to train people, it adds a lot of value. And that is what I've learned, not just across this business, but across all my other businesses. That the people are key.
People are key.
So even in Nigeria, as bad as things are, we need to, those who can, we need to invest and empower people.
Obin, I'm looking at your website, and I shared the website, guys. If you want to look at Obina's website, I've shared the website on. I'm looking at the website. I just see people sewing. So you said these people have never seen a sewing machine before. You got them, trained them.
Never.
How old? Yes. And they're all young people, or these are mothers. What's the demographic of this lady sewing?
So we have people from we usually take from 18 years of age. So people who are past secondary school. And
okay.
There are some who have come we've trained them, and they've gone back to school. They've gone to university, and they come back during their breaks after work, and because is a good income for them. There are some who were single mothers. So I mean, it cuts across the different demographics. But the thing is that at the point that we had them, they had nothing worthwhile to do.
Gotcha.
So we more or less train them for free, and then hire them.
Wow.
And give them give them a livelihood.
How many people do you employ now? This is just like how many people do you employ now?
Well, currently we have currently we have about 250 something people working.
That's just you alone. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about the factory. I see lots of machines again in the pictures. How do you power your factory? Is it diesel? Do you have any solar? How do you power this factory?
So we power typically from the national grid and diesel. Currently, but what we're trying, we have a design because we are trying to build a new factory. We have a design where it's going to be all solar.
All solar.
Green. Want to do this one? Yes, want to do a completely off-grid green factory. So that's what we are working on now.
So the machines can actually work with solar. It's possible to power a factory with solar.
Yes. So basically, all the machines are going to be electronics.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do now, the other part that needs heat. For example, if we're going to use the steam irons, or when it comes to dyeing or other things. It will be heated via solar.
Interesting.
So it's possible to run it efficiently, completely off grid, and yes, with solar.
Okay, and again, if you notice, I'm going to ask you I'm going to take the other side of the naysayer. I'm taking the naysayer side. So now you're talking about power. What about the government taxes, the harassment by local government? Do you get that? I mean, where are you located?
We are located in Transamadi in Port Harcourt.
Port Harcourt. Currently. So Transamadi has gas pipelines. You don't use gas at all?
No, we could get gas, but what I realized that the process of getting gas to our factory was long and arduous, and I also realized that most of our machines, like I said, I made sure that we bought state-of-the-art and they are electronic. So it takes very little power. So there was no need for me. And what I realized at the beginning, I thought that the power was going to be a major issue for us. But what we realized once we started studying that the bigger issue was getting the people and training them.
Very interesting.
And even in terms of cost, our biggest cost is not power. Power for us now is maybe about 5% of cost, which is minimal. So is not a deal breaker for us, and that's why we haven't put a lot of focus on it.
So what's your biggest cost?
The biggest cost for us, people.
Wow.
Because for you to run the factory, I mean, you have the current at full capacity. The factory can employ 400 and something people, about 450 at full capacity.
Okay.
So then of course you have to have all the other services that's associated. You have to get your security. You have to get all the ancillary support.
Gotcha.
So it's the people who are the biggest cost, not the power.
Okay. What about taxes? You pay federal, you pay state. Is that a problem? Local government, is that a problem?
We pay taxes here, yes, but we want to also find out that we're supposed to get there's some tax waiver that we're supposed to get because of our pioneer
status.
Status, yes. So that's what we are working on now to see if we're going to be able to get those waivers.
I think they're 5 or 10 years. I'm not sure which is that. I think it's 5 or 10 years, zero taxes for pioneer. That's what
Yes.
I think. Okay.
Yeah, 5 years, yes.
But in terms of do local government guys come to you to harass you, all that kind of
Of course. Another thing that we see in those areas are things that it happens in Nigeria, but we just need to find a way to curb those things. Is the
systematic risk,
the
more or less.
locals, the locals. There are people who are from there who insist that you have to pay them a fine for locating your factory there.
Interesting.
You have to give them cows and bags of rice for Christmas and all those things. Even though we've employed, another thing that we did is that everybody that works for us comes from a 2-mile radius of the factory. So we have.
You've eliminated unemployment in that 2-mile radius in Transamadi in Port Harcourt. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's go to numbers. Which ones come to? How are you funded? Is it debt or equity?
I was completely self-funded, and the reason why was it was very difficult to get that. I got I got a loan offer from the Bank of Industry a couple of years ago. But then what they expected was to get a bank, a local bank to underwrite that debt. But none wanted to bite. And because the Bank of Industry loans are usually in single digits. But the other banks, they call commercial banks, would rather give you their own loan at their own rates rather than try and guarantee a Bank of Industry loan. So I had that loan offer for more than 3 years and nobody wanted to bite.
So just so folks understand. So you're saying that when you go to the Bank of Industry, they give you a loan of 9%. Then you have to go to a commercial bank and get a guarantee to allow the Bank of Industry give you that loan at 9%. Is that what you're saying?
So basically, what the Bank of Industry does, that the Bank of Industry will not give you the funds directly. So they'll say, you know what, we're going to give the funds to a Zenith Bank or to an Access Bank. Now, if you default, now it will be the Zenith Bank or Access Bank that is responsible for covering that default. So as a result, the banks didn't want to do that. They rather, okay, fine. If we're going to give you a loan, let's give you a loan at our own rates. Then we know that we're responsible. So they didn't want to do that. So that was a major problem.
So it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If the BOI is saying that they are a development bank, but they will not take on the risk, then how are they a development bank? This is a beside the point, but I'm just saying, if the Bank of Industry will not take on the risk, then it's no longer a development bank, it's a commercial bank. If it's asking you to go to a commercial bank to get a guarantee, then you know, like, who guaranteed Apple when they started? But this is beside. I just making that point.
Yeah.
So you are in effect you are funded by equity, not by debt.
Yes.
Okay. Has that changed down the line? Has that changed? Have you brought in new debt, or is just full equity more still?
It's still full equity and zero debt.
Gotcha. Let's go to profitability. I mean, you don't have to give me figures, but are you profitable now? I mean, you paid the staff, you paid the power. Would you say Sierra Apparel is profitable?
Yes, it is.
It is perfect.
It's very profitable. Yes.
Gotcha. I'm not sure if you're aware of this Nigerian Stock Exchange window for third tier, second tier, first tier SMEs that want to get quoted. You don't have to pass through all the hoops of the blue chip, but it allows you a place to go in. I think it's 50 million naira or so, and a few other guidelines that you'd have to use to get quoted. Are you even remotely considering something like getting quoted in energy, or it's just, listen, private equity for now, down the road?
We're thinking of them because, you know, for us, what we've seen, because from the essence of setting up this business is impact. How do we impact the communities that we do the business? Because we want to have a factory in every region. So it's not just that we're gonna build 5 factories in Port Harcourt. We want to build one in Lagos and another. So we want to have it across the different, and also in other countries as well. We've been approached to build a factory in Angola, because we currently export to Angola. So now we're seeing the opportunity, seeing Africa as a single market. So it's not just a Nigeria play now. So we're opening our eyes to opportunities that exist beyond our borders, and also that will also help with forex.
Gotcha.
So we are looking at every opportunity as
I was going to come there, but let me ask you a question. So when you started this company, how much, I don't know if you can reveal that, but what was the total capex, total all in, the total capital to basically set this up? It came from you, it came from your equity. What did it cost you all in to set this company up?
It probably cost to set the economy up. It probably cost about it cost us less than $2 million to start everything. You know, because of
So with $2 million, you are employing, give or take, nearly 300 girls. You've trained them. You are now getting orders from abroad. You are getting folks asking to come and set up in Angola, in Italy. You are eradicated unemployment in that area. You are paying taxes. You are also helping with insecurity. I think that's a very, very good spend for $2 million. I mean, $2 million is what we used to import SUVs for the House of Assembly.
Absolutely.
So that's a very, very good spend. So why? So the question is, are you partnering with the state in any way? Because again, this looks like something like the state will come to you and say, listen, we love what you're doing. We want to take it to all 3 Central District. We're just going to replicate this company, and we'll invest in the equity. We will give you the money. You run it. Employ our ladies and our girls. We export. The export revenues come back to Port Harcourt. You bring in the FDI as well. The Italians want you to come. Has the state approached you? Has the federal approached you? Is this something you're looking at? Yeah.
Absolutely. This state hasn't approached us yet. And the thing about this, there's a saying that is not to say but to show. Okay. So what we wanted to do first of all is to show that this is possible. And because a lot of things that we got from the beginning was that, look, this you just can't do this. This is not possible. So we just wanted to show first that it's possible. And by the way, another thing that we've done along the way is that we now have a safety brand that is 100% homegrown. And because usually if we go to an exhibition and they see our products, they'll ask us who is the OEM, as in who are our foreign.
Where are you copying it from? Yeah.
The expectation is, or the thought is that, look, if you have anything exactly, I'm not telling you, look, there's no OEM, it's all us, 100%. So and it's also something that's in the psyche of a lot of us Nigerians, that you have to have a foreign company in order to show that. In fact, a lot of people advise me that, look, that I should never say that it's made in Nigeria. I should make it and say it's made in the UK or made in the US. I said, why should I do that? Because why should I give credit to the UK or to the US for all my hard work? So I said, no, that's going to be made in Nigeria, and it's going to be our own brand, and that is what we've done, and it competes with the best. The best that is, but even with some foreign companies who have been in business for over 100 years, we compete with those. So it just tells that the spirit of Nigeria is much more than we know. I mean, we get into a lot of discourse of what's wrong with Nigeria, but we lose sight of what is possible here, and I've witnessed it. It's blown my mind what we are capable of doing once we put our minds to it.
I mean, we don't have to listen. Everyone knows what you're doing. If you look at Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Madagascar, like I've said, Ethiopia is doing almost 230 million in export. This is dollar. So this is not a new business. I think what is really intriguing people, I'm getting the DMs now, is that you are doing it in Nigeria, in Port Harcourt. They haven't heard of you. Everybody's saying, I haven't heard of these guys. Are they real? I say, yes, that's why I put the website up. They are real. Their website is there. Go see them. They are real. And you're not doing it in a free trade zone. Your surname is not Dangote. You didn't even tell people where you're from. I would have wanted you to talk about where you were educated and what you're doing in Nigeria and all that. The point why I'm bringing you to this business is to say, listen, in the end, is folks like you doing the SMEs, creating the jobs that actually are the economy of Nigeria. The SMEs at the grassroots level, creating the jobs. You are doing this without the Trump tariffs. And I'm just going to say, Obina, you have to do a new business plan, because you're going to get overwhelmed now with inquiries for folks that want to partner with you. You have to be ready for that, because it's a slam dunk. The Italians are already coming. If they export from Port Harcourt,
yes, you
pay 0 to the US. If they export, now they pay 10, right? Nigeria is 14, so they pay 14%. If they export from the EU, you don't even know what they will pay, but they're going to pay more than 14. So even the Madagascar folks might even come to you and say, we're at 40-something%. Let's come to Nigeria and export out at 14%. That's if Nigeria doesn't go to the US and say, we're going to scrap tariffs and make it 0-0. So you are doing phenomenal work over there. And it's... no BOI, no government support, just your tenacity to come and invest in your country. So I applaud you. And again, the DM folks are applauding you too. They're very shy, but they're applauding you too. Thank you. So, folks, I don't want to talk about Bina for long. If you want to, if you have a question for him, you can ask me and ask him. Like, there's a big man asking me questions to ask you, or you can request to speak, and I'll put you so you can ask him a question. The space is about how can we take advantage of this, and the way we take advantage is look at we now have a tariff regime that says anything we export from Nigeria, we're going to pay less. We talked last week about the guy from Brazil that came to Enugu and is exporting pineapples from Enugu to the EU. Why? Because if you export from Mexico to the EU, you pay tariffs, but if you export from Nigeria, you don't pay any tariffs. So he's here, he's doing it. So let's get Emmanuelovich. I'm not sure if you're Nigerian or Polish.
I'm fully Nigerian. Good evening.
Fully Nigerian. How are you doing?
I'm
go
fine,
ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for this. This is really inspirational for me, Mr. Obina. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm just curious. So I'm someone who is also eager, looking for opportunities to invest in Nigeria. And I would say that my conclusion is there are not so many of them, but listening to you this evening has given me a different perspective. So I'm just wondering if you have tips, what you could maybe recommend for someone who doesn't have up to maybe $2 million to invest. What would you recommend for someone who wants to start for a small beginner to invest in Nigeria?
Yeah, good question, because so many people told me, Kala, I don't have 2 million naira. So, Obina, maybe you want to address that also.
There's something that I need to say here. When I started out, I didn't have 2 million. Instead of 2 million, 2 million was the cost, the entire cost. When I started out with nothing. And the thing about it was that I saw the opportunity, and why I wanted the Italian community to come in, because I wanted them to come in, invest, and we produce their brand here and serve the oil and gas sector here. That was what I wanted to do. But when they backed out, another option, I went to the UK and I met another company, and same thing. The company I agreed at the beginning. So just about when we wanted to kick off, they said, you know what, that they're not going to invest, but they're going to allow me use their brand, and then I have to pay them a royalty of about 10%, and then of course I'll get all my raw materials from them. And I felt that was just slavery. Why would I get all my raw materials from you and also pay you a royalty for using your own brand? So I decided, you know what, that's, I'll do my homework and set up my own brand. And that's exactly what it was. It was not easy. It was not. It was real hard work, but it paid off. Now we are supplying our brand to the major, some of the major oil companies. So when they Total, Saipem, just name it. They prefer our brand to those imported ones. So, and just to come back, you don't have to have the entire fund. Just start off with something, no matter what it is that you had. In fact, our factory was a warehouse. So when we were doing that, when we had that contract to supply, so what we did was that we went ahead and rented a warehouse. And what they wanted to do was stock the goods for our customers. But then our major customer didn't want to carry, didn't want to take the risk, because we asked them, okay, if we bring in these things and keep in our warehouse, can you guarantee us that you are going to take it all? And they said no. So it was too much of a risk for us. That's why we decided, okay, you know what? We're not going to do a factory. So we converted that warehouse into a factory. So that's what we did. And we were buying the machine bit by bit. We didn't buy all at once. So we buying it bit by bit.
Makes sense.
Until it got to where it is.
So I mean, what I take from the opening is to start. I mean, you wasn't like a child of circumstance. You wanted to go to this pathway. That pathway didn't look so good, so you went to this pathway. You started off small and you grew and you reinvested. You reinvested and kept on building and building till you got to where you are today. Yeah. That's what I took from that response.
Yes, absolutely. I'm there because we did everything. We tried to get loans from banks. It didn't work. We tried to because the bank they wanted you to give them a landed property. You know, and I thought, look, we don't, you know, the place we're using is rented, and we can't give that to you. We even offered to say, okay. Look, we said, okay, buy the machines and use it as an venture.
Yeah.
You know, at first they wanted to do it, but someone they were saying, you know what, that the problem they have is that the machines get older, and when they get older, their value drops. So I mean, it was all stories.
Yeah.
So we did everything we could have, but while we're looking for those funds, we kept on doing our own funds, just so that it doesn't just die.
We
saw the opportunity that was there.
Yeah, curiosity is pushing me to ask you, those same banks, do you do business with them now? Do you still do business with them? Those banks that didn't invest in you when you were starting out?
I don't. And I don't want to call banks names because I mean this is
no, don't.
There's a particular bank that didn't. But right now they've sent, even an ED has come to us, and I just said no. That's principles. I mean my principles. You didn't see what we saw in ourselves, and you said no. And now it looks like it's good business for you, and you're not coming there. They're sending their needs and to come and I just said no. I said no. So it was a bank. I only bank with. There's a bank that is there's a particular bank that took a small chance with us, even though it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but at least they listened, and that's the only bank that we bank with till date, just out of principle.
DM people are saying she named the bank. the one that said yes to you, the one that said yes to you, not the one that said no. It's your call. It's free advert for them. It's your call. So I'll just put it out there and I'll leave it alone for you. Okay.
Well, the bank is at that time. I mean, I can say it because the bank at that time was Diamond Bank. So it was a Diamond Bank before.
It's now Access.
Before Access. Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's get TS. I got TS. TS Uluwatosi, you've got the floor. We're talking with Obina from Sierra. So, what's your question, sir?
Actually, it's been a really mind-opening conversation for me. I think last week on this space I said banks, how it's really difficult that banks are really making huge profit at the expense of people like Mr. Obina, who are the major driver of Nigeria's economy. I think he has really done very, very well. But I don't know who decisions maker. I'm not sure they are on this space either. But what do you how is being able to get around the BOI what's called requirement, and for me, I still think it's still more or less like the bank are the one giving the loan, because getting bank guarantee itself is
Yeah, you're right. That's the same sentiment we have. If the Bank of Industry is asking you to go to a commercial bank and get a bank guarantee from that commercial bank, in effect, they are asking the commercial bank to take the risk. So as a commercial bank,
Absolutely.
it would be stupid for me as a commercial bank to give you a risked loan at 9%, Obina. I wouldn't do that. Sorry. Why would I give you my loan for my balance sheet at 9%? I'll give it to you at my normal balance sheet, maybe 30%, because then I'm compensated for taking that risk. But if BOI says the other way around, that hey bank, give the loan at 30%, then Obina come and get the subsidy that, so I'll, in effect, give loan at 30%, then BOI will stand to guarantee. If Obina does not pay, BOI will pay. That's now a development bank in my view, because then they are taking the risk. But if you don't pay because something happened, maybe the ports or whatever, then BOI pays the bank. That makes more sense than what they are saying right now, Bina.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the question I would have loved to ask, sorry for interjecting, maybe Mr. Obina, you can complete what you say.
No, go ahead.
So the question I would love to ask is, the problem is not just with our commercial banks, obviously with what we are seeing here. We also have, I think we have agricultural bank, one kind of agricultural bank like that. And I think the type of one that Buhari gave away about 1 trillion or over 1 trillion out through CBN, I've forgotten the name of the bank too, and now they were able to. So what do we have to say about this, or should I say, maybe I should put the question this way? Do we really say the banks are living to their standard? Not just the commercial bank in this case now, even the government-funded banks, because these people are being funded too by federal government, while they still make this type of profit.
Yes, I see where you're going to. But honestly speaking, just like I said to Obina, if I own the bank in Nigeria, I would not give Obina a loan at 9%. That's not my job. My job is not to subsidize Obina. My job is to serve my stakeholders. It is the government's job that should step into the hole and say, Obina is a manufacturer, an entrepreneur, an employer of labor, and I have a commercial bank. The government comes in to then give a guarantee to me, some way that I can give Obina capital, Obina can grow, and Obina can pay back. It's not the commercial bank's job to support Obina. If you don't, I'm using the words very, just maybe sure I'm catching my words carefully.
I think I understand it.
Yeah, it's not their job. Correct. If I sell rice to Obina's workers, it's not my job to give them rice at 100 naira a plate. That's not my job. My job is to sell them my rice, make a profit, and go. If the government comes to me and says, because I'm supporting Obina's workers, and Obina's workers are helping to do import substitution, so therefore, any rice I sell, I will not pay VAT on it. That VAT I'm not paying, I pass on to Obina's workers. That's how the government should work. If you go to America, their small business administration will give you a loan. You go to a bank, but the loan is from the SBA. When I mean the rate is from the SBA, not from the bank. You go to a bank and process it, but the SBA is saying this is the interest rate. And then between the SBA and the American bank, they settle themselves. You can't ask the bank to give Obina 9%. So I hear that question. Very good. And Obina,
thank you.
Great. Obina, just drop my microphone for now. No worries, sir. Just to recap, lots of folks that are saying that they did not come early. They want to just recap what Obina does. Obina is into garments, right? Garment sourcing, production, exports. Those large garment manufacturers you see in Asia, that's what he's doing in Nigeria, in Port Harcourt. So he started off by trying to do the normal import and sell to meet a contract. They had a few, should we say, issues that turned out to be opportunities. He went back to the suppliers, wanted to bring them to Nigeria. They said no. So he started his own garment processing or garment production. What's the name for this factory in Nigeria? So right now, he's into the mass production of garments, safety equipment, t-shirts, even socks. If you go to his website, I said his website on this page, you'll see what they do. Socks, safety equipment, earplugs, eye guards, and all that. They do a lot there. So that's what he does. And if you can catch up just by, again, looking at the website and all. Let me get Nnamdi Chikwe, Namdex. You've got the floor. So Nnamdi, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. So first of all, I'd like to commend the platform for this conversation. I'd also to commend the efforts of the entrepreneurs who are working tirelessly to get through the monstrosity that's the Nigerian business environment. And so I think focusing on kind of the microeconomics and the micro kind of entrepreneurial aspects is fantastic. But at some point, we have to focus on the macro. And several times, Carlo, you've talked about where government intervention is necessary and needed, etc. And the reality of the situation is that until we fix the macro, the experiences of the entrepreneurs that we're talking about here will come in vain. And I say this because I've been through it and I've seen it. And it's the macroeconomic, this gentleman that just spoke right now, not only does he have to worry about the micro aspects of keeping that business afloat, profitability, his operating environment, he now has to also deal with the fact that the economy has depreciated by half in the last 5 years, currency depreciation, threat to security, violence, etc. So the reason why I bring this up is at some point, we within the entrepreneurial, especially the small, medium enterprise, etc., and within civil society, have to finally address and attack the macroeconomic issue, which is created, or the macroeconomic risk, which is created by government, lack of structural policy, lack of structural reform in place. And the reason why I say this is that ultimately, it is my belief, and not to be a Debbie Downer or not to be negative about it, but being realistic from an economic and financial analysis standpoint, Nigeria or no African country can and will take advantage at a significant level of the global economic dislocation that we're seeing today, because we don't have the infrastructure to do it. And so we've reached a point of no return. We've reached a point of just critical failure that only socio-economic restructuring and attacking the policy infrastructure in place will do it. And it's the civil society entity that will do it. And my contribution to this space is that for those who can, to follow me, because there's a movement that I'm pushing to go and do that, because we'll be telling the same story for 10, 15, 20 years.
Nnamdi, I hear you. Completely hear you. But you see, the point is, again, why do we do this space? I can do a space and we can attack and abuse. The point is this, right? Many people have never heard of this company. Ever. The DMs are saying it's not. People are looking at it and saying, wow, have never heard. This is a Nigerian guy that has invested, whatever he says has invested, $2 million, whatever he invested, he put it in Nigeria. Obina has not told you guys. Obina was trained in MIT. He came back to Nigeria. He's a reverse Chakma guy. He came back to Nigeria. He's investing in Nigeria. This money he could have taken this money and put it in Vanguard and enjoyed. He's not. So I hear you. What I'm trying to say is that why I want the space is to pass this. I'm doing public broadcasting here. I'm saying, listen, guys, this is possible.
Right.
There's a guy. There are many folks listening here today that can take this model or talk to DM Obin and say, I want to set this up in my local government. If you space ago, we had a space here about alfalfa grass. Alfalfa grass. A guy had the space, got to me after the space. I gave him a few links. He went to his governor. Today, that state is doing alfalfa grass. They're exporting to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So I hear you. I completely hear you.
And Carlo, I want to respect, please understand that I want to respect, this is a focused forum that is addressing a specific topic, and I respect that. And it's not to say that these are other wider topics, but I weep for this kind of gentleman, because if we do a study and look at the statistics of the average lifespan of a Nigerian business, we'll see it's quite short, because the macroeconomic will always kill you. And it's killed me. It's killed so many people. And no matter how many times we come along. And so the reason why I say this is that we're living in historic times. we've, as an entrepreneur and as civil society, we've gotten to a point where, Nigerians are famous, and Africans in general are famous for taking on hardship and for bending over backwards. I mean, there's so many geniuses work. I sometimes wonder how some entrepreneurs in Nigeria, Lagos, etc., run businesses that they do, because they face unprecedented. Elon Musk could not come and run a business in Nigeria. He would go mad. He doesn't have the capacity to do it, because again, you do the micro, then you do the micro. So the point that I'm trying to make, while respecting the focus of this forum, is that we have reached a point of no return. These our efforts as entrepreneurs can no longer be, well, how do we survive? How do we grow the business, etc.? Because the macro environment is now, in my analytical perspective, impossible. It is now to a point where we have to now change the entire system. Otherwise, so I just wanted to drop that. And
Well,
that's
fair enough. I'll let you speak. That's fine. Fair enough. I completely agree with that. Fine. Let's get Nelson. Obina, do you want to say anything to that, or just, you understand what he's saying, right? He's saying in the end, it's down to the systematic. It's not just you as an island in this ocean of inefficiency, but it's down to the whole system has got to essentially change for folks like you and folks like others doing this all over the place can actually move. Do you have any comment on that?
The thing, one thing that I've learned is this, and I think that's what has driven me. There comes a point where you would almost want to throw in the towel. But one thing that I learned is that I mean I hear Nnamdi, and I agree with some of his sentiments in terms of how bad things are. But I believe that and the reason why I did this, I mean like Carl had mentioned, I lived in the US for more than 10 years. I could have just packed it up and gone back to the US, but I said no. I just wanted to prove that this was possible, and also I looked at it, and anytime I walk into my factory, I look at the faces of those young people who are working there. I couldn't just throw in the towel. I couldn't. I said, even if it took everything that I had to make this work. And another thing that helped was that, there's a company, my biggest customer. There's a company called Saipem. They took a chance. They gave me a major contract and said, you know what, we like what you're doing. Just go ahead and produce for us, and that gave us a lifeline, which we used to get over the hurdles, and then of course all other companies followed suit. But I tend not to look at the difficulties. I try to focus on the opportunities, and even though we know how things are in the current country, economy is not so good. If we focus on those, we'll never take a step forward. So I say, look, I hear all the noise, I hear all that, but I choose to focus on what is out there, the opportunities, and what can be done.
I mean, it's
that is what I've done.
Obina is quoting the reality,
and I'm sure that there are people out there.
Yeah, I mean, Nnamdi is quoting reality. There's no taking that away from him. He's quoting reality. When I started, I asked you power, I asked you local government, I asked you they are harassing you. These are questions that Nigerians want to know about, because it's our reality. If you start a factory today, local government will come there tomorrow. And you said, yes, these are all issues with you and you are profitable. So I'm putting it's a template, it's really out there for folks to follow. Let's get Nelson. Nelson, you've got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Carlo. I'll start by thanking Obina. He's doing a fantastic job, and I'm so proud of him. And I'm fully convinced that it's folks like him that would transform our country, and I will give more clarity as to why, not just our country, but also our continent. My name is Nelson Okun. I'm CEO of October Development Company. We work with private firms, big private firms. We also work with MSMEs through development partners, donor partners. So we kind of have 360 degrees view of the economy from both the big firms and the small firms, and you will see why I said so. Obina, we are supporting a MasterCard Foundation funded program at the moment, targeting 5,000 young people to be trained in the fashion space in Aba. As we speak, 2,000 are in training, about 750 has graduated, and nearly every one of them has been placed with existing entrepreneurs in that space. It's a very challenging space. The quality is poor. The level of capacity is very low. The skill sets can be better. However, the opportunity is clear. And with what is happening at the moment with the tariff, we can clearly see the opportunity. I shared on the link the numbers. We're looking at 70 billion Vietnamese exports in apparel and garments, and we have about 48 billion from Bangladesh. If you can just get $10 billion of that, that would employ more than 3 million persons in Africa, in Nigeria alone. Sorry. So to give perspective, last week we had a meeting with the governor, Alex Otti, and we made some specific ask. I'm giving this example just to inspire hope for someone who might be thinking that it's all gloom. It's not. The governor assented to all the asks to have us have more production hubs in the state. And if you do some Google, you might even find some of the things that we already started to do. But the point is that the public sector, at least in this particular state, understands the need to support that MSME space to grow and to hire more people so they can employ more people. And part of what I really would like to reach out to Bina for is to link up with the Vietnamese, if possible, Bangladesh partners, so that we can, work with them to deepen the quality control challenge that we have working with MSMEs. Unlike his case where he has a one-unit shop, we are dealing with multiple MSMEs with multiple shops, and we got to figure out a way to get them to produce items of good quality. We have our ideas. We're trying to copy what Zara did with women cooperatives, trying to produce garments where he began his business initially. So we really would like to reach out to you. Now I'd like to speak to the kind of people that will make the difference. People like Obina that is looking at this beyond money. Yes, you have to make money, but I tell us the truth, we need passionate individuals, and we have a lot of them in Nigeria. Some have died trying to save the country, but if there's a global handshake, which is what I think makes a difference, the ability to see beyond the local market. Obina, by having this foreign, expertise, he has been abroad for a while, he can more easily find, foreign partners, unlike somebody who has been here in Nigeria. That, to me, is the big game changer. Until we behave like the Indians and the Chinese who set up a handshake with Europe and North America and then build the production base so they can speak to each other. That is, to me, the biggest thing that Obina brings to the table. And let's talk about BOI. Yes, BOI is challenged, but let's not forget, BOI is operating within Nigeria's rent culture. We've done a lot of work with BOI, and I can attest that yes, they have that BG requirement for you to finance, equipment financing. But let's ask ourselves why. If not for that requirement, you and I can't even approach BOI because the political jobbers will be the ones that collect that money. They will write business plans and collect that money. And we can see what happened with the RISE project with CBN. It all went down the trend. So by having a certain level of constraint, BOI limits the quantity of applications that will come to them. So what I would recommend is that everybody that would like to work with BOI should identify that, look, they're operating within a very tough terrain, and not all banks need that BOI loan. So you have to work with a bank that their cash requirements align with BOI. Some banks need liquidity, some banks don't. So a bank that needs the liquidity is likely to work with you to access a BOI loan. Of course, you pay them, they charge up to 2 to 5% extra, to be able to warehouse your financing. And of course, they will also ask you for a collateral. The bank will ask for a collateral. So either way, you need a collateral. So, but it helps to know that this is what you will need to plan. So, for example, if you need $2 million, maybe you should start by first having your own $2 million, and have it in a form that it can characterize another BOI $2 million. When someone asks, why do I need to ask BOI for 2 million when I already have $2 million? Yes, you might need it to expand. So you need to plan in light of the constraints that exist. So, for example, as a friend, we've taken 2 loans from BOI within the last 24 months for our solar installation, and it was single digit from BOI, but 15% from the commercial bank, and it was fantastic because the inflation rate was 30 something percent, and we were very happy to take a 15% loan from BOI. In this case, it was non-collateral, and it was sweet, and it is still available as we speak. If you call Sterling Bank, you can get a solar loan cap of 7.5 million, 15 million if you do twice, and it works pretty fine. Now, I say that all to say that yes, it's a tough terrain, but it's not an impossible terrain. We have not reached the point of no return, like somebody said. Yes, civil society will need you to reform the terrain. We need to deal with macroeconomic issue. But individuals that are passionate, that are that can do the handshake between local and foreign, and have their their numbers at their fingertips, there's still a lot of money to be made. Thank you very much.
Gotcha. Lots of great points there, Obina. Obina, he said that you got money because not saying that directly, but that your exposure or your access, you went to MIT, right, gives you the ability to raise capital. Do you want to speak to that? Do I have to have contacts abroad to take risk? Could I have done this if I was living in Nigeria? I have rich Nigerian friends. Is it also possible?
The thing, like I said earlier, I don't think it's just a question of having having what should we call it, having the foreign I mean, you don't just have to look at the business we want to invest in and see all the pieces. Now, I saw, and for me, what was important, for example, is that I saw my competition in the factories in Vietnam, in Bangladesh, in all those places. I didn't look at my competition as what all others were doing in Nigeria. So, and I knew that if I wanted to sell to the international market, I have to make sure that my quality even exceeds what they are used to. And because, of course, the very first thing is, this is coming from Africa. Do we trust it? Now, let me tell you what has happened as well. There was a company, and an international company. I'm not going to call their name as well. They had come to our factory, and some of their people came, and they saw what we were doing, but because they normally imported these things, and they had the people they were working with, they more or less were just blocking the way for us. They would come, we would send emails for their response, and they wouldn't respond. And when I went on the trip, I went to Senegal, and I met a lady who was in charge of the West African operation of this foreign company, and I spoke to her, and she was like really nice in her. So I spoke to her, and she says that I should send them a sample of what we were making. So I sent them a sample, and she sent that sample to their head office in Paris, and they tested it alongside what they were buying. And currently, they approved our products globally. So I can actually sell to that company in in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, everywhere. As we speak, we are approved globally for that company. And, it's, I really don't want to go into the things that are wrong with Nigeria. What I'm just trying to say is that once there's a will, there's a way. And what we are looking at now is now we are ready. And why I say that we're ready, we know what our capacity is and what our capabilities are. Now it's time to announce ourselves, and that is what we are going to do. And not just, just to encourage other people who are on this journey, to let them know, look, don't look at all the things that are wrong. Just look at your the opportunities in front of you and keep moving. And then, of course, we also want to reach out to some governments, both on the state and federal, to see how we can make this impact. Because I believe strongly the government sector is one area where we can help massively with unemployment. And even as we are currently in my company, we are paying above the national minimum wage, the new one. So there's nobody in there. The lowest person, there's nobody who is earning peanuts. And it's not just it's not because I believe that, look, if you give people value, they return that gesture. And what we are making, I wish that there was a way to show. I think it was Nelson who mentioned something about quality, but I know that quality is possible here. We just have to instill that mindset in the people, and that's basically why we train people from scratch, because of the issue of quality. Because you train someone to say, look, this is how you stitch straight. The person can only stitch straight, but if the person learn in an environment where it's okay to stitch in zigzag and cut corners, that's what the person is going to learn. So that's the difference.
Gotcha. I mean, well said, well said. Let's get to, guys. I have a few questions, but just to put in your mind. There are two issues that have worried me about your conversation today. Number one, you're not using gas. We're supposed to be this gas economy. We're supposed to reduce our output using gas, but you're not using gas. It's not you, but I'm just noting that point. Number two, the finance side. Those two issues really worry me because the narrative has always been, once we get our gas going, cost of production falls, but here you are, not connected because it's going to cost you more or more hassles. And of course, again, with the financing in Nigeria, if we can't get financing to SMEs, we're not going to go anywhere. Let's get Kabiru. I think it's Goodwill, then Kabiru. So Goodwill, we'll go Goodwill, then we'll go to Kabiru. Goodwill, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Great job. Quite impressed because I'm also in oil and gas and trying to get oil and gas projects executed in Nigeria. It's like they trying to pass elephant through the elephant needle. I've been trying to do that for the past 20 years and I've still not been successful because of the corruption, immense corruption. But this is not about me today, it's about you, to celebrate you and what you've done. You've done great. I can only, marvel at the kind of obstacles that you must have overcome to actually get to the point that you got in, because no mere mortal can really, really execute this strategy, And I know that you're just dwelling on the positives, but, I know the challenges, the negatives, were quite crushing, but you surmounted those and you executed, which is good. Nnamdi was highlighting about, he wasn't highlighting about the idiosyncratic risk, he was highlighting about the systematic risk, which we understand and Carlo understood too, because, in investments, you try to make sure that, okay, hey, those systematic risks are risks that you can't really they can't really get clean out, because they're still going to be there. But I'm going to my take and what I want to say is I want to encourage you, okay? I want to encourage you because you're doing such a noble thing. Don't try and keep diversifying geographically, diversifying your market. And I was really impressed. I jumped on this to talk to you about diversification, and I heard, and just your last submission, you talked about diversifying Senegal and all that. I was really exposed. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Don't the risk components of doing business in Nigeria is too high that you cannot limit your market to just the domestic Nigerian market. For the effort you've put in, and for the distance you've gone, and for the mileage you've gotten, you need to look at the global diversification. You need to start looking at huge diversification. If possible, having your markets not just outside Nigeria, but outside Africa. And I'm talking about factories, markets, customers. Look at those diversification because the oil and gas is a global market. And your garments and FR, your fire retardant materials, your FR, your corals are things that are going to be used in all the oil and gas operations all across the globe. So you just look at that as a global base, as a global market, and also look at if you have to explore capital formation. I talk about capital formation in terms of equities and all that. I know you've been doing debt and you've been loans and all that, but if you're looking at capital formation in terms of equities, feel free to reach out to me once we establish those growth potentials in terms of global markets. I guess there are people that will be excited about being a part of what you're doing in terms of taking some equities in your opportunity or your companies and helping you get into the global positioning of your products. And I think that's all I need to say. But keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. You're doing God's work. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Great words there. Thank you so much. Obina, you have a...
Thank you.
So let's go. Kabiru,
Yes,
hi. I was going to go to Kabiru.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kalu, for giving me an opportunity to actually speak on your space. I've been following you, and I'm very happy to see you today at my house. My name is Kabiru Suleiman Saji, based in Kano, and I'm a CEO of International Export and Import Academy. And I will help other companies, which I do export actually, and also work for other international organizations like Mexico. I work with Sartola, Baguio, and others. I also work with one company in El Salvador. Perhaps we don't have ambassador in Nigeria, but we do actually work somehow. What I say here is that our own company, which is International Export and Import Academy here in Kano, what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a special links. Number one is to teach those local business people how they can be able to register their own company so that they can be able to become real suppliers, real exporters, real aggregators, and also farmers. If you are farming, what did the world require? Actually, they need organic products, not those that have been using chemicals. If you go to places in Jigawa, places in Katsina, in Taraba, in Gombe, Adamawa, and Bauchi, there are a lot of farmers. What are they farming? Is what they are farming actually needed by the society? Nigeria is safe. Secondly, is it healthy for Nigerians? Thirdly, is it okay for us to buy it and export it abroad? Okay, if we are exporting, where are we targeting? Are we targeting Europe? Are we targeting US? Are we targeting China or African markets? Then we have a sector. What's the products? What product do we have here that if we farm it, we can be able to actually supply it to the African countries so that we can enjoy the free trade? Okay, our people only farm actually, but they don't know how to handle that. After as a farmer, we train you how you can be able to farm, how you can make things organic, or you reduce it. You reduce the chemical because most of this product, for example, systems in Traba.
Kabiru, I apologize. Great comments from you. But did you have a question for Obina as regards the topic? I don't want to cut you, but just want to ask.
I actually don't have a question regarding the topic, but I can actually add my own view.
on
Oh,
the
okay.
topic.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we stay within guidelines. But just you got a minute, and we can just move on. Got a minute, Secretary. You have 1 more minute. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, as far as I'm concerned, if we can be able to, have a very good exporters who actually are very ready to export to the European market, to the US market, and they have their own FDA, HACCP, and other ISO organizations, it will help. Because since the Americans are trying to, reduce the burden of importing from China and others, then Africa we can be able to take the opportunity, especially in Nigeria, which we have vast land of farmings. We also have a land of farms, dry season farming and others, and we can move to the organic because the US market they are more concerned about their health. So organic is very a reliance because when we go into it, we can be able to benefit from the market. And a lot of APA, a lot of organizations actually are doing the certifications.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kabiru. I appreciate the comments. Yeah, I mean, exports are very important. You're focusing on the agricultural side. Very, very important there to teach folks how to do it. So we just don't walk into it and make an error. So good comments there. And let's get Kilo. Kilo, you've got the floor, Kilo. Obina, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Yeah. Yeah, Kilo.
Thank you for having me.
Kilo, your audio is kind of low. You want to speak up a bit or change your audio source?
Okay, I'm coming.
All right. So, Obin, I just had a quick question for you again from
Yeah. I can hear you now.
All right, Kilo, go ahead.
I can hear you now. Okay, thank you for having me. I just want to make a few comments. Nothing. I don't really have a question for Obina. So what I'll just say is this. I think based on the topic of the space, I think Nigeria has opportunities. This presents opportunities for us, especially ratifying the Africa Free Trade Agreement. Then I think if you look at the African markets and if you look at the African market, you see that there are lots of opportunities. I think we've flogged the agricultural opportunities mostly well. Maybe you could add that Nigeria can take advantage of selling its excess capacity of cassava and yam to the rest of Africa because there is a ready market for that in Africa. I think that is but then there's always the problem of which I heard from Obina, the issue of cost of capital and the bottlenecks that exist everywhere throughout the economy, from the bureaucratic bottleneck, which is a big one, to the issue of cost of capital and exploitation and all of that. So I think cassava and yam, Nigeria has excess capacity or overcapacity, as we have been led to believe, of yam and cassava. I think this is something we can sell to the rest of West Africa and Central Africa and even Southern Africa. So that would also include Gary too. We can do that. Then manufacturing, the basics of manufacturing, from selling clothes. We have some really good clothing manufacturers in Nigeria. The problem is that the supply chain in the country is really poor. The quality of what the suppliers do in Nigeria can be very poor. We have some good ones, like in the tannery part of our economy is really good. I hear that that's what some of the multinational fashion houses source and actually use for their quote-unquote luxury brands.
So you mean the hides and skin up north in Kano, where we do hides and skin and export to Italy for Versace and all, right?
Yes, but the tannery is actually is a bit more skilled than just hides and skin. So what they do is they actually have to treat the skin into something that is usable for shoes, for bags, and the like. Nigeria is really good at that, and I think that is a ready market that Nigeria can tap into and exploit further. There's also the issue of clothes. I think Nigeria can do better in terms of production of good quality clothes that could be sold in the African market. I know I'm talking a lot about African markets. The thing is that, unfortunately, when you look at Nigeria in the world market, especially for tradable goods, for manufactured tradable goods, Nigeria isn't competitive. In the African setting, it could be competitive, but in the outside Africa, it's not so competitive. So I think Nigeria can benefit from a strategic position in terms of geography and all of that to export to the rest of Africa. Then, of course, the rest of Africa too. See countries like South Africa. Why is it that in Nigeria today we're not seeing more South African goods, especially South African cars, South African made cars, Moroccan cars in Nigerian market? I think these are unfortunate issues that we are currently facing that I feel that our African neighbors and cousins and brothers are not taking full advantage of. Yes, and of course, there's some other things that we could do. One could argue that Africa should, when it comes to technology, we should actually have a more Pan-African Technology Institute where we fund research into vaccines for African predominant diseases. So things like sickle cell. There is no reason for us to keep on relying on progress made in Western countries on things like sickle cell, which disproportionately affects Africans, Black Africans especially, or the issue of glaucoma, which disproportionately affects African countries, which would push us up the technical value chain and the manufacturing value chain in terms of pharmaceuticals, in terms of medical devices and the like. So these are some of these little things. It will take some time, but one thing about research is it's not a situation of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I know some people will say, that is a long-term situation, but guess what? Every short-term decision that you make while ignoring the long-term consequences will end up biting you, because every short-term thing will end up being long-term over a period of time. So these are some of the things that Nigeria and African countries can come together in and actually expand trade throughout the African continent, and possibly move our economies from agrarian societies and low value-added economies to medium value-added economies. Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Kilo. I like the focus when you went into the fact that it's intra-Africa trade, and you mentioned the African Continental Free Trade Zone. Again, we have that already up. So Africa is one trade market. I would have assumed or wanted that Africa as a body will go to the Americas and say, we want to negotiate a trade agreement with America, i.e. the African market and the American market, rather than South Africa is trying to go on its own alone to the US and have its own trade deal. South Africa is doing almost 30 billion in trade with the US, from cars, using AGOA and all that. So they have an incentive to go alone. But if Africa came together, we have that common market, we can then use that to then even get the extension of AGOA with even other benefits. So great points you mentioned. I do appreciate that, sir. How about my good friend Enna? Enna, are you still here? Enna?
Yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, the Bible says there's a time for everything under the sun. And it was Ray Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago, an advisor to Obama, who says, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Sure.
The U.S. did not let the peak in crude oil prices in the 2013s. They used it to fund their shale gas projects. And the U.S. became the largest producer of crude oil. So the truth is that you can only literally benefit from an opportunity, which others will call a challenge, if you had modeled your economy for that and you had put everything in place for that. Because if your actions are reactive, like is prevalent in Nigeria and Africa, I guarantee you it's not an opportunity for you. You will be trying to catch up. So if I was looking at the topic, I'll call it a global trade opportunity. US and the world, how can Nigeria benefit and Africa? So I think the first thing is to understand the mind of the President of the United States of America. So when I was modeling and I tried to look at the tariffs in itself, what does it interpret? One of the first things that came out was the formula with which the tariffs, the new tariffs were put, and who are the target countries, and where is it driving at, and what is the thinking of the president? Because if you understand the nature of a thing, his behavior cannot surprise you. And to a very large extent, Trump is really predictable. So I'll say this. Always remember Trump is a real estate entrepreneur. That's where he made his money. Just like Tinubu is an accountant, he's tax-centric. Atiku is, for example, a privatization czar, Obi it's like savings based on his personality. So what Trump is driving at really, people are looking external, but it's looking internal. What do I mean? About 24% of the U.S. debt will mature, let's say, in about 12 months. That's coming to about, say, 9 trillion. And the question is, the U.S. currently spends about 1 trillion servicing our debt. So what's Trump thinking? How does the real estate man think? Real estate thinks that in instability, when there's instability, like the eagle source, that's when wealth is created, when there's actually a glitch and a clutch in the economy. So as a real estate man, what is he thinking? He's thinking how to push the Fed to reduce interest rates, to renegotiate the U.S. loans, standing at about 32.6 trillion, and he can now refinance with demand of real estate. So I'm just coming first from the outlook of the key driver of all of these happenings. Where is it coming from? Now, to the topic. Let me congratulate Obina on what he's doing. But I will say this, that a business is profitable does not mean that a business is doing well. You can go on and look at what Professors Kaplan and Nathan of Harvard Business School developed. It's called a balanced scorecard. Businesses, a lot of times, like I've consulted, they celebrate profit too much to the detriment of others. A car is stable because it has 4 legs. A seat is stable because it has 4 legs. A house is solid because it has pillars in different places. So I'll say for the businessmen here, entrepreneurs, be very shy to celebrate profitability. Instead, look into the business balance scorecard and try and see what you can do. 2, I would also advise for the entrepreneurs in the house, like Obina, do not grow too fast, because more businesses have failed from success than actually challenges. Because a lot of times, the underpinning for a business, when people start business, R. Kelly sang a song, "Did you ever think you'll be this rich?" So a lot of times, it's not the challenges that will kill the business. When people say, oh, small businesses die under 5 years. But I've never really looked at the data to see how these businesses function. A lot of businesses actually did well. But because the foundation and the underpinning are ab initio, when they developed the business, we're not seeing the bigger picture. And success came and it became an avalanche. They could not meet up with the others. They could not meet up with the exposure. So I would advise for the entrepreneurs in the house, take some time. Don't be in a hurry to grow too fast, and try to redefine what you mean by success. Nigeria, what can Nigeria do? Nigeria could have only been proactive. So if they did not and were not proactive like Africa, there's really nothing they can do. But I'll say Nigeria will need to get the optics right. Because if you look deep into these tariffs, and for someone that's worked in manufacturing in Nigeria across different sectors, from oil and gas to chemicals, petrochemicals, to power, and working globally now in industrial manufacturing and understanding the thinking behind global industrial manufacturing, brothers and sisters, I can tell you clearly that we are seeing countries in this trade war is actually big companies and big conglomerates. What do I mean? The revenues of Samsung in 2024 was about 270 billion. What do I say? When I see South Korea, I'm not thinking of South Korea, I'm thinking of Samsung. When I see Germany, and I'm not thinking of Germany, I'm thinking of Siemens. When I think UK, I'm not thinking of UK, I'm thinking of Rolls-Royce. And when I think the United States of America, I'm not thinking of the US, I'm thinking of General Dynamics rating their defense industries, because they have a pitch there. So what am I saying? Africa must get her optics right. And Africa, if they really want to have a seat in the table or to even hear the conversation, brothers and sisters, we must build big brands and big conglomerates. I guarantee you. Because this trade war, go read about family-owned businesses. Family-owned businesses. So one, there must be big brands and big conglomerates, Nigeria and Africans. 2, we must have a closer look on family-owned businesses. We always talk of small and medium-scale enterprises. Small and medium-scale enterprises. If you go look deeply, even to the business model of the Igbos, which has really worked, and people are pitching along the line, either it is a mentorship or an apprenticeship program. Brothers and sisters, take a look deeper at family-owned businesses. Africa and Nigeria must look at family-owned businesses. The Agni family, they run Exxon in Italy. Their revenues for 2020 was 145 billion. The Walton family in the US, their revenues for 2020 was $559 billion. Guess what? Their holdings about almost 50%. brothers and sisters, it's family-owned businesses that will stay up that company, because family-owned businesses are better managed. What must Nigeria do? Nigeria must build new allies. Because when you think of Nigeria, you're thinking OPEC, Oil Organization of Petroleum Corporation. But let it be known that in the 2013s, the OECD countries, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they made more money from crude oil than the OPEC countries. They made more money from crude oil than the OPEC countries. That comes to the R&D chain, but let's leave that. What was Nigeria do? Nigeria must begin to think new allies. Africa must begin to think new allies, because when we think OPEC, but we should also be thinking of Mint, Malaysia, Indonesia, Nigeria, Turkey. So a new bloc, just like you have the what's the name, BRICS, a new bloc. This should give birth to a new economic bloc, not to go against the grain like you want to fight the US. You don't have that capacity, but just a new bloc that gives you a seat on the table. Just a new bloc that puts you to have the right optics. And when I say right optics, the optics runs right from the top to the bottom, and it goes all the way. Because when I watch a music video in Nigeria, I'm watching the video or Burna Boy or Wizkid, and I look at all the news that they pitch out. They're not pitching anything in Nigeria. Oh, we just bought a Rolls Royce or a Culinat. Oh, we just bought an AP watch. Oh, he's drinking. So I think there must be a pitch on the optics, right from the initial visibility of the country, straight down to across the sectors, and what you pitch out to others, because it's the image you give that they will take. That is actually branding. Thirdly, what must Nigeria do? What must Africa do? Nigeria and Africa must begin to look inside, because there's difference between ownership and control. Because when we're talking about Dangote Refinery, I remember one space that Carlo had, and I emailed him a question behind the scene. Who really owns Dangote Refinery? That's $1 billion question. The information is right there. You can go and check. So, because when you say something is Nigerian owned, you must understand the difference between ownership and control. What must Africa do? Africa is supposed to use this time to kind of think the way Donald Trump is thinking, reduce interest rates, use it as an opportunity to renegotiate and restructure their loans, to give them pathway to fund the major areas. What must Africa do? What must Nigeria do? Brothers and sisters, when the Prime Minister of India visits the United States of America, you will rarely see him in the White House. You will rarely see him at United Nations convention, which is a ritual for our presidents, vice presidents, and government officials. Where should they be visiting? Someone was talking of Governor Oti. I want to see them in the right places. Macron, semiconductor manufacturing companies, Facebook, Texas Institute, University of Texas. We must visit the leadership of these countries to get the right optics. When they visit and get that global publicity, they must visit the right places, speak the right lingua to put their place in the right places. Then my question to Obina, you've not talked much on theft, because when I was advising someone to open a business and I was modeling, I said I'll put theft at 25% in Nigeria. Then two. Just a soft question for Obina. I know manufacturing as it stands today is evolving, especially with AI, machine learning, deep learning, amongst other digital twin, amongst other emerging technologies. My question to you is, what will be the human element of your manufacturing in another 5 years? Because if you say, okay, yes, this business is really about people, how I can employ people, and I know as competition becomes stiff, and as South Korea and Vietnam and other countries, your competition, whatever, they will be adopting their own technology, which will be expensive for you to buy, or change your naira to dollar. What do you think will be, to what extent would the human element reduce in your manufacturing as your need to invest in technology to get a competitive advantage will come? Then lastly, what will the IOCs do in Turmoil? Lastly, the IOCs like Shell, Exxon, BP, what do they do? They did what they could do prior to any global instability. They are integrated companies. So I would advise the entrepreneurs in the house, I would advise the government and Africans who must begin to think ecosystems. Because really and truly, these tremors, the small businesses cannot survive it. Let's speak the truth. If they drop a Tomahawk missile somewhere, People cannot survive it. So this is really global. The effects are deep. So what must you do? You must build ecosystems and you must begin to tap into partnerships. Because what I think the Yorubas have done really good for someone from the South whose parents are in business, who are a director in some companies, I can tell you for a truth, one of the challenges is South Nigeria, Southeast, Unandi, this and so. We must begin to think partnerships. We must begin to think to stretch our hands to see it beyond my personal business to go into partnerships. But thank you. And God bless.
Wonderful. Only I can have a commentary with Nigeria, OPEC, Rayton, and Burna Boy. Only I can do that and string it together so perfectly. That is not just an economic history lesson, but it's also relevant to today. So anyway, I always appreciate listening to you and just learning from you. Obina, you asked two great questions, two fantastic questions. Number one, what are you going to do in terms of automation? Is there a plan for that? Let me give you my own personal bias. I don't like automation for developing nations in Africa. I don't, because I think the employment is, to me, what's the word now, is better than the productivity. I'm a capitalist, but you are employing 200 girls. Each of those girls from a family, they have a brother. They have a brother that might be someone that is doing some other stuff. The fact that you are employing that girl, if tomorrow they say let's go and do some stuff to some people, they will say leave that company. It's just every nation in the world passes through stages of where they employ people in agriculture, then to industry, they're probably going to services that need automation. I just think that human employment, even though it is less efficient than robots, I think at this stage in Nigeria, we need it. Just my view. You are free to disagree. But it's asking you about automation, and it's also asking you about theft, which we call slippage, the official language. Is that an issue for you? Not just the theft, but the vandalization or the quote-unquote unintended consequences. Could you talk about those two issues for us, please? And again, thank you so much. Hope that you brought the floor.
First of all, I would like to thank Anna because I really enjoyed your discourse. I mean, there are things that you spoke about that we're aware of. I'm aware of, and other things that they gave an entirely new insight, and I say thank you for your perspective. Now, going to the questions that I asked. First of all, I'll start with the automation, AI, and machine learning, and all that. And also, all the things I said that we should be aware of. Building ecosystems and all that. But I think that I agree with you on all those. But there's a saying that before you run, you must walk. So in Nigeria and Africa, we are not even running yet. So we have those things at the back of our mind. But what we're looking at, or rather, what I'm looking at is impact. How do we impact the most people? If I set up my factory now to have to let it for it to be entirely AI, it means, of course, it might improve my productivity, but you have very little impact. So right now we have all that at the back of our minds. But what our focus right now is, how do we create impact now? Because the most important thing is that we don't lose the opportunity for now. Now, if in the next 5-10 years that we've trained 20,000 people, and then those to 20,000 people have been empowered enough, even if it means that that all the factories are now and entirely run by robots. But then we've uplifted them up to the point where those people who have worked for us are able to progress beyond where they were then it would have been a big win for us, and that's what our focus is. Correct. And then two, about theft. So what we've done, the way we structured our operations from the get-go was to minimize theft, so that everything is run. For example, we have our stores, so that once the materials is in our stores, for every order that we get, we know exactly how much of the raw materials that we need, and also what the output is, and because we produce according to line. So everybody, for example, on a line of say 60 machines, there's no one person that does the entire thing. So you do your bit up and push it to the next person. So the way is structured is very difficult for theft, and also we have periodic audits to check to make sure that what's in the warehouse, what has also come out, that there are no issues. I mean, once in a while you see, okay, maybe one item here is not accounted for, but usually we're able to trace it to where that slack came from and dealt with it accordingly. So that's how we've worked.
And it's a great question, because
I hope I've answered that.
I think you did. There was a guy that we had in the space that was doing a feed mill in Nigeria, setting up a feed mill in Nigeria, and he told me that his greatest issue was not power, wasn't taxes, it was a theft. That when they make the feed mills, the workers just take it, go home and do a camo. So this is a great question for me, because lots of folks that want to invest, you might be worried, thinking about its power, its insecurity, and you focus on that, and then you make the production, it's just stolen by your workers. So because there's just so much poverty in the country and all that. Okay, I had a question for you as well. You said Santam did give you that huge contract. Who is Santam? Are they local, or they're a foreign firm? Saipem.
They're
Ajit people. Saipem. Gotcha. So
SAIPM, yes.
Gotcha. So they basically trusted Nigerian to deliver safety equipment. They took a chance on you. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yes. They took a chance on us, and what they've done was just fantastic. And what we faced, and still currently face, is the Nigerians that work in some of those foreign companies. It's they take pride in promoting foreign goods, and I mean I can understand if what we are making is substandard, and we've told them also most times, take our products, run your tests and compare, but a lot of time is because of the corruption in the system. They believe, I'd rather work with this guy who is importing these items just because he gives us a percentage of the take. So that's one that's one of the issues, and that is where I commend Saipem and other companies for standing their ground, even in the midst of all that, and doing the right thing. Because it's not just a question of it's not just a question of, there's no issue of substandard products, because our products are certified by those same bodies. We send our products to Europe and get those certifications. So, but what all this one like Cyclone does, that they've come and seen our factory, and they've come and also seen the people who are working there, and they've seen that it's 100% Nigerian. So that gave them the confidence to say, you know what, we give you this job just so that this factory keeps running. And that is that's a great thing that they've done, and some other companies have also followed suit. And of course, like you said, a lot of people don't know about us. It was intentional, and like Anna had mentioned, you take your growth piecemeal. You want to understand to make sure that the systems are in place. For example, my company is ISO certified. Even though is a garment factory where ISO certified, so we have those things in place to make sure that we are ready to open our doors. So that's what we've done in the past 5 years. So that's now we are now ready to look outwards to see how we can expand beyond what we currently have.
That's just fantastic. I wish you guys have a second comment to make. I've got Kilo, Nelson, and TS. They all want to come back to you, but then I really just fascinating that this is a plug and play. It's a plug and play because the main thing with textiles is just the cost of labor. I heard you say that labor was your highest expense. Imagine if this factory was in Thailand or in the US or in France or in China. The cost of labor is going to be the highest cost as well. So you have a natural advantage because you are paying, even if you are paying minimum wage, even if you are paying 100,000 naira a month, if you convert that to dollars, it's still going to be lower than Vietnam. So this is a plug and play. I don't see why a state governor cannot call you and say, listen, I have trade sectorial zones. I'm going to set up what you're doing at 1,000 capacity, employ all these young folks in my state, put them in this place. You have the question for you. Where do your textiles come from? Do you import the textiles, or are they coming from, say, the textile mills in Nigeria? We had a guy that was here. Again, he does t-shirts, and he was letting me know that even though Nigeria has cotton, Nigeria cannot meet his demand. He just makes t-shirts in Lagos. He said he has to import the bale because Nigeria cannot supply him enough yarn, this bale yarn. Nigeria couldn't supply him. He just imports yarn, makes t-shirts in Lagos, but still he couldn't get enough yarn locally. So are you importing your textiles as well, or how does that work?
So currently, because the fabrics that we use are specialized fabrics. So currently import them. Gotcha. But I've spoken to a couple of manufacturers and asked them how can we, if they're able to produce, and none of them wanted to. So we're currently speaking to two textile manufacturers, one in China and one in Pakistan, to put a factory here. And what they want to know is, okay, can they get enough cotton? So we're also having some discussion with some folks in Kogi and other places to see, can we get enough feedstock for those factories? And because if we can make this in Nigeria, it means that we can be vertically integrated, and that would be fantastic. So those are discussions that we are currently having.
And that's what Kilo was saying about the supply chain and all that value chain is not really connected. If we have cotton up in the north, we have one ginnery, I think in Katina. If we can't get the cotton to supply you, then we're losing some value, right? But imagine if we had the cotton and the cotton was going to the units in Nigeria, and then we're supplying you with those cotton that you are making in Nigeria. So we capture all the value, but we then export and get the dollars. Perfect for Nigeria, and everyone is more or less happy. Kilo, hop right in here. I think you have your hand up, Kilo. Go ahead. Kilo. All right, let's get Nelson. Nelson, you have your hand is up as well. You had a further comment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Carlo. I just want to expand the conversation in light of the title, so that we don't keep Obina on the spot.
He has been here for 2 hours. He promised us 2 hours. So Bina, I will let you go in 2 hours. So we've got about a few minutes to go. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's about competitiveness.
Kilo, you know what you speak next? Once it's done. Yeah. Kilo, good. Now, next, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. It's about competitiveness, price and quality at the end of the day. So despite our goal to be impactful, we must meet price and quality challenges. So we also are aware that manufacturing has been commoditized, meaning that if you bring in the equipment, if you have it in Nigeria, if you have it in China, it's exactly the same equipment. So it's just the other surrounding factors like power, labor costs, environment issue, raw material supplies that will determine if you'll be competitive or not. So I'm going to come back to ask him, what is the game changer for him, as a case study. Now, for example, in Turkey, because we were part of a team trying to bring some Turkish manufacturers to come to Nigeria, and they were giving us a case study that for them in Turkey, the government provides a physical space, for those that want to go into garment apparel. The government will pay your staff for the first 6 months while you are training them.
What?
So that post-training, they can now start paying taxes. And we did the numbers. The numbers show that if a state government takes money from, let's say, LBB, build a physical space, pay staff for the first 6 months of training, because the cost of training is a massive cost. If you want to scale to 2,500 people now, the cost of training those people is huge. The government pays those people, and after 6 months of training, Obina retains, let's say, 70% of them and start paying them. Within a 1 year period, a small tax on their revenue is enough to pay back what the government borrowed plus interest. It can be done. So just for those who are in the government to know that you can work with the likes of Obina to scale impact because they already have the market. So that's number one. Number two, I just want to ask a question so that we can broaden our conversation to ask ourselves, beyond apparel fashion, what are the other sectors that we should be looking at in light of the challenges? We should have a long-term vision. We know that East Asia, that is China and Asia Pacific, are the ones Trump is targeting. And it is unlikely that the status quo will reverse. What that means is that Africa is going to have a competitive advantage on the long term if we're able to import the right equipment, import the right technical capacity, and still stay competitive. So I would like to ask Obina one question. When you were hiring these Bangladesh and Vietnamese guys, how difficult was it to secure them? How much were you paying them on the average per month, per annum? When I was in Turkey last year, I was trying to get some people to come to Nigeria. They were willing to take up about $2,000 a month, But I want to hear from Obina, what's the price point like for this, human resource that made the difference for you? But I'll come back to that, just to hold that down. Now, it's good for us to remember that Olam is a $47 billion company as we speak. Olam was founded in Nigeria. Olam began in Nigeria trading cashew. So if you look at the Olam story, you can see that it had those pillars I had mentioned earlier, that there must be a global handshake. You cannot be a local firm. You must have capacity like Obina to travel abroad and come back. Many of our MSMEs don't have that capacity. Because if you can go there, you can see what is obtained globally, and you can even leverage international market. So Olam was able to build, foreign, markets abroad. So their cashew, they were selling cashew to Olam. So it's not as if Olam was looking for a buyer abroad. Olam sells cashew to Olam abroad, and then Olam abroad can now retail, to parties abroad. So that is the game changer we must be looking at. I must have a local firm, and I must have a foreign firm. They can trade between themselves, and the foreign firms can better maximize the foreign market, which is what India, China, Vietnamese, Bangladesh have done pretty well. I'm coming soon. Now, everybody on the call should also check out Arise. Arise is a big player in the SPZ or Free Trade Zone Management space. Arise is owned by AFC, African Finance Corporation, Equity, and a subsidiary of Afrexim Bank. So Afrexim Bank, AFC, noticed that we need to have technical, competent free trade zone managers. We don't have them within the country. So they have to basically work with a Singaporean firm. I think the Singaporean firm initially, but to make it sustainable, they invested equity into Arise. So most of the SPZ, you know that SPZ means special purpose zones. The agri SPZ that is being developed in Nigeria are all managed by Arise because they need to have a technical capacity of a manager. So I would recommend for those in the agri space, look at those SPZ, look at what Arise is doing in Nigeria. There's a massive opportunity there. Now on the CTG, Obina was talking about cotton, textile, and garments. We know that that's an initiative by the federal government that are trying to do something, but really that capacity is really, really poor. But there's a huge opportunity, something can happen. Plastics. If you check, I shared something on the WhatsApp, we're showing what East Asia Pacific has been sending to North America. Plastic is a big thing for us. In Nigeria, we import close to $2 to $3 billion of plastics on the average per annum. And but with Dangote coming on mainstream, we need to figure out how to leverage the byproducts of petroleum refinery to have plastic facilities. The market is huge, both local and foreign. Polyester, with Dangote coming up again, polyester forms more than 50% of all apparel clothes that we wear. 50%. Cotton is just 30% of all apparel. So polyester is more than 50%. Can do the research. And polyester is a byproduct of petroleum refinery. And now we have Dangote, but we don't have a cracking unit that has a capacity. It's a massive investment, by the way, about $10 billion to do something decent, to have a polyester plant. So, if possible, if Dangote goes that way, that would help. I don't.
You want Dangote to do more? The one that he has done, you like giving him wahala. No.
but fashion, plastics, polyester, of course, CTG, forget it, right? Maybe that. Well, the first question was HR. I mean, that human resource. How did you get those Bangladesh guys to come, Vietnamese guys? What was the price point? What's your experience around that space? How willing are these people willing to come to Nigeria? Because if they continue to get them a mass to support the production. Secondly, your competitiveness factor. Is it just labor? And if it's labor, about what is the price differential? If the quality is the same, is it 10%, 15%, and all that, so that we can have an idea for people that want to enter that space? Thank you.
Great comments. I enjoyed that. Obina, I mean, I don't know if that's the trade secret for you. If you want to share that, yeah.
I think for me, the most important thing here is having those for foreign people good it helps at the beginning. But one thing that we did or we didn't lose focus on was that what we needed them to come here for was to transfer what they knew. Our aim wasn't to have them here permanently, and because of course it would defeat our purpose. So what we wanted them to do was to come, see our people, and then leave. So at the beginning, we had about 8 expatriates. We had about 8 expatriates, and now we have just 2. So the others are run by Nigerians, and they're doing a fantastic job. So that's a bit. And then of course the costs, because at the time we had those had a lot of those expatriates was when the naira and dollar rate was still going at 400 and something. So it wasn't too bad.
It was like about 315 or something like that.
Yes, it was 300 something at that time. Yeah. So we're able to, and of course the main thing for them isn't even the cost, because if you want to do things the right way, you have to bring in, you have to get the expatriate quota, and of course you will have to renew it every year. Make sure that you are filing those things. So it's a process, but it's not something that is impossible, and I always have to keep your eye on the ball. Why are you bringing these guys in? What specific goal do you want them to help you achieve? And also, it's also good to be very clear about that, so they know that they're coming to train, and then of course you find somebody who is going to and I think Nelson mentioned, which is also true, that exposure also gives you an added advantage, because when I was in business school, I had an opportunity to take trips to China and some other countries, and we saw how they did, how Ford had this arrangement with China. But the government was involved. The government mandated that the Americans who had their factories, GM, who had their factories in China, then they mandated that there must be a Chinese person who was shadowing an American, and that's how they had that technology transfer.
Wow.
So is the same model that we're doing, but without the government intervention.
So Obina, just to pause you there. So when GM went to China, the Chinese government mandated that the Americans have to appoint a Chinese guy to follow the American around and learn what he was doing. And now, how do you think
okay?
And now they're making not just better cars, they're making cheaper cars, more advanced cars than the Americans. So it's not an accident. You just don't wake up today. I mean, that's my takeaway. You just don't wake up today like you are innocent and make cheaper, better cars. It's not an accident. There has to be direct government policy, hand-holding to mandate these things. It's not you pray or go to church or no. I want to make sure I emphasize that point, sir.
And also, I think that I need to mention as well, all the countries that are doing extremely well, exporting in the billions to the West, they all have strong government hand-holding. They don't. I mean, it's not left to chance. Whether it's in Bangladesh or Vietnam or whatever, government had to say, you know what, this is an area that can give us income and also employ a lot of our people. Let's push this and give them all the support that they need to flourish.
Yeah, we had Nnamdi say that.
That's one thing that is missing.
So Nelson was saying that the workers in Turkey are paid while they are undergoing training. I'm sure there are lots of if you go, there are lots of places in Nigeria that allow you to get that kilometer, but are they functioning? You did this all by yourself. So big question for you there. Let's get Cyrus. Cyrus, I don't know when you joined us. Cyrus, I don't know if you've been following the conversation. We're speaking to the MD, CEO, or founder, I'm not sure what title Obina is calling himself, of Diara Apparel. They're making safety equipment. In fact, they basically have done import substitution of lots of safety apparels and garments in Nigeria. So it's this mass production of garments. He's brought it back home. He's solving unemployment. He's solving import substitution. He's raising revenues for the states, for the local government, for Nigeria. He's doing technology transfer, and it's just one guy employing nearly 2 million people, right? 200 million people. So, Cyrus, what's your take on what you're hearing? Yeah.
Oh, that's very brilliant. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Kalu, for the space. And I think the story is not isolated. Like, if we hear different Nigerians in diasporas and so many other people like us who just want to come home and bring in the capital, bring in the expertise, the years of experience. I think it was not a few weeks ago I was talking to one CEO of a solar company who had like this, 10 years of experience and saying he wants to just come back to the country and, start the solar business, social and whatnot. So you see that, but like everybody has said so far, for me, what I think, because I look at all these issues about the economy, what's going on, the climate, the inflation and whatnot, but given the fact that I spoke to a lot of people, and even personally, experienced these things firsthand, I would say, and I think we can also agree that one of the things that is very difficult in Nigeria, particularly when it comes to investing capital, would be regulations. The regulatory oversight in Nigeria just seems lopsided and not in line, in line with the flow of capital, in line with, the interest of people who are actually taking the risk. So that's something that, and it's also tied to this conversation around this old tariff and whatnot. Nigerian government are more pro-revenue than they are pro-business.
True.
I don't know if that makes sense. And their mindset towards private business, private capital, investors or whatnot, it's always, what can we get from you? How can we milk you? How can we get something from you? So we talk about projections and deals and investments, like, we project $500 million revenue, which revenue is also a good thing. Even the US government talks about revenue, other countries talk about revenue. But most of the time, they don't look at it from the metric of how are we creating a climate, particularly from the place of regulations, because that's where the problem is. To start a business in Nigeria, to keep a business, to employ a number of people, you have to look at all the loopholes and look at this place, that place, and some of the things that you even know actually exist. The more you unravel certain businesses and investment in this country, you realize that some of these things affect you. So for me, I would say that we really need a serious revamping of that particular framework, that particular climate. We need to stop, first and foremost, looking at business from the place of revenue collection, revenue getting. But why not let business thrive first? Then you can tax them. That has always been, and that should be our approach. For instance, I don't see the reason why company income tax should be 30%. For instance, it doesn't make any sense. Because I know they are proposing 25% with the new reform, but I think for an emerging country like Nigeria, it's still very high. People always say the problem is banning this, banning that. I don't think that's the problem. Nigerians will do more business or purchase or transact with Nigerians than they will do with the US or with the UK or China, because of, even if at anything, because of proximity. Because the fact that I can easily get from this person, and this person understand the business, understand the terrain. And I was with my friend the other day, we're talking about, Nigerian made car. I don't want to mention name, but one of the two being Nigerian name cars, in Nigerian made car industry. And we're talking about SUVs and how much it is to import SUVs to the country and how much it is to assemble it in Nigeria. And there's this one of the automobile companies in Nigeria, they have this in their website, you can literally simulate the assembly. Like, I want this kind of engine, this kind of paper, this kind of wheels and stuff like that, and get the premium, the best of the best. Do you know, Kalu, that if you import the SUV into this country, it's like 30% higher, right? Higher in price than assembling it on the website and then, getting it immediately. Not immediately, of course, maybe in the next month or something. But our home politicians will prefer to import that same SUVs and tell you that the Nigerian made one is not worth buying. So you can see that kind of thing. So for me, I would say Nigeria should just get rid of this revenue. Revenue is good, but this revenue metric approach to businesses, particularly emerging businesses, and then focus more on how can we help, how can we support, how can we reduce taxes over regulations, to make it make sense. I would say that. And in this place, I think is where the state government comes in. Because sometimes we put most of the burden on the federal government. Yes, we do. But sometimes state themselves need to take the responsibility of saying, I want businesses in my state to thrive. I want businesses in my state to do it. So what am I doing? Am I creating a free trade zone? Am I giving tax rebates? What complete advantage do I have compared to other states in terms of regulation that I can put in place to attract revenue, not revenue, to attract capital, to attract business, and to attract investors like Obina and the likes of them? There are many Nigerians who want to come home, but they're just afraid of the climate because the climate is not friendly to businesses. So that's my own take on it anyway.
I think it's well said, Obina. And I like the way you said the Nigerian government is more pro-revenue than pro to business. And that's the point I always make all the time. Take affordable housing. We said it again last week. Either you have affordable housing or you have government revenues. You can't have both. You can't have both. Same with businesses. It's either we have SMEs or we have government revenues. We can't have both. You can't tax SMEs. There's no point. If Obina is employing 200 million people, the Western government will say those are 200 million people that are not on welfare. So they give Obina a tax break. He should get tons of tax breaks because they're employing them. But in Nigeria, he's going to employ them. They're going to come to him and say, oh, pay for this, pay for that, which are taxes that add on to the cost of his product. So again, good point there, and we have to move on. Obina, I've been for 2 hours. I think I should start to wind down, let you get on, and Madam to be on my case. Let me get TS. TS is going to be almost the last folk guy to speak, and we'll just let Obina come in and give his closing remarks, and then we'll take from there. So TS, you've spoken before. You had a follow-up comment, real quick?
Yeah, thank you. I think what I wanted to was to speak on what Honor said, and from part of what Nelson said, and which is about use of should I say IT? Because I don't want to go too far to, let's say, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yeah, I'm a machine learning expert, and I know the complexity that and the level of investment it requires. Not just investment, and also technical competence, which there are not so many in Nigeria, and the few that in Nigeria are being bought by big guys. So let me go back to level of basic IT usage, which yes, you are creating value, which you are employing hundreds of locals, but we get to a stage where beyond impact, we also want business to be profitable, to be more efficient, because if we don't drive towards that path, most likely we are free only impact. Yeah, it will not be nice for the business to tend towards the traditional way Nigerian business was, because most likely, business that you see 20 years ago are no longer here today because of one thing or the other. So what IT helps you to do is to even if your business is not well structurized, IT force what we call structuralization. IT will force you to kind of do some things in a much more structured way. So without even going to the extreme level of machine learning or AI, let's come to the bare level of IT usage, which is how well do you incorporate IT usage into your whole build process, be it the logistic, be it the management of staff or management of resources or processes. So, for instance, now you made mention of each staff having a specific duty of what's called, and because of this division of labor, there's not too much miscarriage of responsibility which lead to theft or something like that. Or beyond that, we also agree with me that in the place where you have IT, let's say you have a stock that you already put on computer, that instead, unless somebody have an admin access to the key that maybe software that is being used to you do the stock keeping, somebody will not just go there and go and turn it tonight. Which in one of the way using IT, you have build an anti-theft what we call structure, or should I say intrusion detection system, without even going to level of intrusion protection system. So through that way of usage of IT, you can kind of, not just it will help you to lay a foundation of what your growth will be in the future, how you can scale it back or you need to scale, or when you decide to, and it will help you to be able to scale, because IT or software procurement or software development, generally once you write the code, you can always take it anywhere and go and run it. The only thing is just to kind of incorporate people into that type of system, and then they're able to do exactly what they are doing in our purpose that you are doing. So how is the usage of IT in the business process, management, and maybe probably your anti-theft process that you have discussed? Yeah.
Obines asking how high-tech you are.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's important to know what my background is. So I have my background is I have a bachelor's in electronic engineering and a master's in computer science, and I worked with IBM as a software engineer for 5 years in the US. So I'm pro technology. For example, let me tell you what we've done. Right? If you step into my factory, so for every staff, before the we use biometrics for every staff to check in as they come to work. So that is automatically track is linked to our HR system. So we don't have to check who came to work or who didn't come. So that's done. That's built into our system, and also even our warehouse. Before you can get into the warehouse, the storekeeper, the access to our warehouses by biometrics as well, and then of course we have CCTV cameras everywhere, and like I said also the system that we're on is ISO certified. So we've taken the time to make sure that in terms of technology, it's at the core of all that we're doing, but we still have a human face.
Well said, Obina. That's a lot of IT. Obina, my final questions for you. I just have a few questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Obina, there's a picture of a guy on your website fully kitted up. I just shared it now. He's wearing the safety equipment, earplugs, and all that. You make everything, that picture, the earplugs, everything there, the harness, everything is made by you guys. Obina, do you see
what we make? What we make? What we currently make in my factory are the garments.
Okay.
The all other things that you see are just accessories that are worn with the garments.
I see.
But yes. So, but we are growing. We're currently want to expand into making gloves. Those safety gloves, and hopefully before the end of the year, that part will be functional.
Okay, fantastic, Obina. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, Obina, just again, I can actually go on with you, but you've been here for 2 hours. I do appreciate the time. Nigeria is also coming at work. So, if you have any final comments, Obina, I would love to take them. Thank you for hanging out here, and of course, giving us. I wanted to bring you in here to show that there are opportunities in this volatility. And like we always say, volatility is actually in finance, the volatility is actually that reward, the alpha. If things are the way they are, then there's going to be no new entrants into the economy. If Americans didn't have the volatility and make them go to China, today we won't have the Chinese manufacturing or the Vietnamese manufacturing. So this volatility is going to be a big shake-up. And at the end of 5 years, we're going to see who has won this war. This war is not going to be known. Who has won this war by next week or by next year. It's going to be in 5 years. Which countries took advantage? Which countries went back at either vertical or the horizontal to take advantage of their own unique resources or their unique manpower? That's really what's going to happen. And I feel that if Nigeria is focusing on just oil and gas, on Dangote, which is a given, we might miss those opportunities. Like Obina has, this is just one person is already getting inquiries from Vietnam and Italy. So imagine if we had a sector, if we have tons of folks that are unemployed in every state of the federation. If we open up a mega warehouse and we train everyone in that warehouse on just how to make socks alone, we can displace China. China has a high cost base. Vietnam has a high cost base when compared to Nigeria. Just socks alone, Nigeria can become the #1 capital of sock making in the entire world. So divide how many folks wear socks in the world. We have the cotton. We go back and we plant our cotton. No, you laugh, but you laugh, but cotton, ginneries, to make socks in Nigeria, it's a world beater. It's recession proof. If you're going to wear a shoe, you've got to wear those socks to jog, or you've got to wear the socks to go to work. There's winter coming up, you make the hats, you make the socks, you make the gloves. All from Nigeria. Low labor is the same equipment. So you can't say, oh, it's low manufacturing or whatever. And you've got gas. So power is going to be dirt cheap. So you see, we're set up for success. And I hope what we're not going to do is just to talk about it and nothing happens. So Obina is one guy. And I hope people are listening and going to say, wow, I was in that space and that's what they're doing. He's out there. Reach out to him. Go to his company. Talk to him. Or go do yours. Do the research. Do yours. There's a company in Ogun State. Oshun, doing this. Garment factories as well. So it's not the only one, right? But we have to take advantage of the volatility, of the quote-unquote uncertainty, and position ourselves. Nollywood was created by the private sector. Fintech, private sector. The government has really not created any new industry in Nigeria since crude oil. That's if we argue that they created crude oil. That's why Obina and you guys are here. We all want to learn and be better. So now just have to give your own closing remarks, and I will just have to thank you for coming and spending time with us, and then we'll call today. Obina, back to you now.
Thanks, Carl. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my story. And I think that I had no idea that stuff like this was going on, and I'll try to be more intentional about it, because I can see that once you tell your story, it inspires other people who have similar ideas, but are just not unsure about what is possible and what is not. So thank you for that. And I think that we also should any industry, not just the government industry, needs to have it's true that, for example, as you mentioned, the Nollywood and all that is private sector driven, but the government has to be involved in that growth.
Yeah,
we can't rely on oil.
Completely agree.
The price of oil just slipped.
Yeah.
So something dollars, and our budget was based on oil at 75.
Yeah.
Can't rely on oil. It's not sustainable. But the government has to say, you know what, this is, and the garment industry, from my experience and from what I've seen, is one industry that could be a major game changer for Nigeria. Why? One, we have the population. Two, we have a very young population, and that as well. So there's an opportunity if the government could come out and say, you know what, we want to take just a small percentage of whatever revenue and put it into this sector and be intentional about it. The multiples in growth for the economy will be totally mind-blowing. A country like Bangladesh is doing 60-something billion in exports.
With a B.
From Gambia, with a B. 60-something billion annually. That's mind-boggling. And in Bangladesh, there was something million people, or thereabout. I mean, we are more people in Nigeria than they are in Bangladesh, and they have no oil, and they have lots of earthquakes, and they have natural disasters, and we don't. So we have to. We just have to, as a collective, see how to speak out loud and let those in power know that, look, yes, things are not as good as they should be, but there are small steps that could be taken now that can determine what the future of Nigeria. But everybody in his own small corner, like I'm doing now in my own small corner, trying to things that have an impact on the environment. That's, no matter how small it is, it always there are multiples to that. And that's what I'll say is my take. And I thank all of everybody on this space, those who are joining and those who've been here. Since it's been a pleasure speaking here, and I'll go ahead and follow a lot of the people here, and let's try to make a difference. It might seem like a tall order, but let's start with the baby steps and see where that leads us. Thank you.
Perfect, Obina. Perfect. I mean, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for the folks that have listened. That's what we do here every Sunday, 7 p.m. We talk topics, we make it personal, we learn. And I think everyone that today has learned from you, not just the business side, but the resilience. I think many folks are walking away with a different view of Nigeria. It's all about, like you said, have your plan, start small, see what can happen, have the faith to invest that capital and learn. I like the fact you say you're doing biometrics to do HR. So you are doing Nigerian, but you're also doing global. So you are acting local, but of course, your focus is to bring those best resources globally into Nigeria. I like that a lot. We talked about the issues, gas, investments, capital, how you have basically been working around those issues, and we still see you growing, and we still see the future, brighter for you. If you're a stock, I'll buy, because clearly your future earnings today are going to be worth more. So clearly that's what you've built, and that's really sellable. So thank you for coming, Obina. I think, guys, we always share. Thank you, Obina. I appreciate that. Yeah, till next week, guys, we'll also come again and talk around the economy, finance, and of course money. And that's where we can bring more stories like this. We want to have the space to be a place where we can learn, where we can ask tough questions, and of course, but the important thing, to learn to do. I don't want to be an academic space, but more of you hear from folks that are in the trenches, doing what is, we say the day to day. Then you can take it with you and then run in your own space. That's really what we're trying to do, right? So to get these folks to come somewhere else, you might have to go pay or book an appointment. But on my space, is not free. You are investing your time, but you are learning something worthwhile. Anna, FS, Namdi, God's will, all that have spoken, that have dropped off, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope I'll see you guys again to have on that session. So on that note, let me let you guys go for the evening. Do have a great coming up week. It's going to be a tumultuous week. But remember, where there's volatility, there is opportunity. All right, folks, have a good one and bye. Owena, thanks so much and bye.